Welcome to Twisted Liquid RC Boats. Good day, everybody. Welcome back to Twisted Liquid RC Boats and the continuation in our Enforcer Demon Hydroplane build. Guys, I got all the work done on the boat and I'm expecting that engine's going to sit there and idle for me. I'm only going to run it for about 1 minute, no more. It's got no water lines on it. I don't like using water lines and running boats. This is just a simple, quick test to make sure that everything is okay before I do take it to a pond. If you guys look around you, you can still see we got a couple feet of snow on the ground here where I live. And right now, the pond that I run at probably has still a foot of ice on it. But like I've said before in videos, crossing our fingers that soon this beautiful sunny warm weather starts coming our way and spring will come and we will have unfrozen ponds and we will be running our new boats. Guys, I've had this hydroplane for 2 years and I've been trying to get all the parts together in order to finish this boat, get it running, get it in water, and I want to make this boat run good. So, camera's rolling and I've said hello to you guys. So let's pull on a cord and see what happens. Okay guys, as you can see, we got ourselves a running Demon hydroplane and we've got it running pretty good, not bad. It's taking fuel, it's responding well to the throttle, it's crisp, it sounds nice, a little bit of smoke out of the exhaust, but I'm not too worried about that. And here's why. That engine that you see in that boat, guys, is 11 years old. It's never been rebuilt. It is now in its 4th hull in its lifetime. When I got that engine, it was in an Aeromarine Avenger Cat, which I'm going to show you in a picture-in-picture. After I took it out of the Aeromarine Avenger Cat, when I sold that boat and I kept the engine, I put it in my Expresscraft Thunderbolt. The engine lived in the Expresscraft Thunderbolt for probably about 3 seasons, and then it was removed from that and it went and it lived in my Banzai Sports 47 Skater for about 3 more years. After I took it out of the Banzai Sports 47 Skater, I put it in storage and I coated it down with rust check inside so none of the needle bearings in the engine would corrode or rust. So I was expecting to see a little bit of smoke when I first fired it up. Guys, I like to run my boats at the pond. I like to put a load on the engine for testing. I'm not one of a guy who loves running boats on water lines and revving them. I'm a guy who just likes to test something and do all of my running and all of my prop testing and all of my tuning at a pond. So we're going to just shut the camera down for a bit. I'm going to take the boat back inside and we are going to go through the little bit of work I've done with this. This was not an extensive build. Basically, all I had to do was Loctite some bolts on that engine, set my radio up, install my transom hardware, and cut a drive cable. And that wasn't very hard. But I'm going to review a few things because I think there's a couple tricks that you guys could learn on how I do a few of those procedures. And I just wanted to show you, we got our second boat built. And this thing is going in water this year, guys, and it's going to run. I promise you, as soon as that pond unfreezes, you're going to see that flying across it. So, let's shut the camera down, let's bring the boat back inside, let's bring you guys inside, and let's do a quick review on what we got done with our Enforcer Demon hydroplane. Okay guys, after our quick test fire outdoors, I hope I got your attention now, which I think I do. I'm going to give you a quick review of the work we done on in the inside of our Demon. And we, like I told you outdoors, did not have a lot of work to do with this boat. Guys, the hardest thing that I had to do in building this boat, and it's not very hard, was I had to cut a drive cable down from 24 inches long down to 22 inches long. And I've come up with a little trick that I use for cutting my drive cables to length. On a boat like this, it's a very straight, gradual bend in the stuffing tube. So what I like to do is, I like to get myself a piece of wooden dowel that is one size smaller than the stuffing tube. The stuffing tube in this boat is for a 1/4 inch cable. This is a 3/16 wooden dowel. What I do, guys, when I'm cutting my cables to length is I use the wooden dowel as a guide for me. I basically install it in the boat, I get it to bottom out into the collet, and I bring it all the way back to my transom, and I get it to go into my prop shaft, and I get a perfect length on the wooden dowel first before I cut the cable. Now the reason I do this, guys, is because that piece of wooden dowel is about $1. And where I live in Canada, that cable I just showed you, for me to get it in my hands is about 50 bucks Canadian. So, by the time I get a cable here in Newfoundland, I want to make sure that I cut it correctly. So what I do when I'm doing my drive cables is I use a wooden dowel like this, and I cut them to length to match the wooden dowel, because if I make a mistake, this wooden dowel is only cheap, and if I make a mistake and cut this cable too short, I got to order myself another one. Guys, when I'm cutting these cables, I use a 4.5 inch angle grinder. I'm not going to show you how I done it. It's just a straightforward cut with a 4.5 inch angle grinder and a really thin zip wheel. And I like to use Walter products because I find that Walter products are some of the best abrasive products when you're using them on any type of grinder. So after a quick clean cut, I lightly chamfered the edge of the cable so that when it do go into my collet, it simply slides in with no resistance whatsoever. Guys, I got this cable fitting the boat perfect. All I got to do is grease it and install it. But I wanted to show you the trick that I use with taking a cheap wooden dowel and getting the exact length of a cable you need. And that way, if you make a mistake, the wooden dowel is cheap and the cable is expensive. So I'm going to show you stuff we done with the engine. I'm going to show you the radio. I'm going to show you all the radio box working properly. Same thing on this boat, guys, as all the other boats I got. I'm using a bonsai throttle cable on it. And the throttle cable on this boat is probably about 14 inches long to get it fitting and working properly. This engine, like I told you outdoors, is a very old engine. And it has a lot of hours use on it. It has a lot of fuel run through it. And everybody say that you got to rebuild these engines. But I'm giving that engine a little extra oil. And that's why it's lived so long, and that's why it's been in 4 different hulls. Yes, its top end might be a little bit tired, but it's no big deal. As you just heard outside, it's a good running engine. And when I started this build series, I told you guys I was going to fill you in on the facts on this engine, and I thought that you were going to be surprised. So, I've done a review of really what we got done here now quickly again. So let's move the camera, let's show you guys all this stuff working, and the next time you're going to see this boat, guys, it's going to be at a pond. And I'm going to take it over to water as soon as the pond is thawed out, and we're going to run this hydroplane. So let's reposition you guys and go over the work we got done. Okay guys, with our engine, all we merely had to do was Loctite the 3 bolts that hold our engine mount on the front to our engine. We had to Loctite the 4 bolts that hold our rear engine mount to our engine, and we had to tighten our collet, and we had to install our exhaust. Guys, here's how we done all of this stuff. I got this pipe cut to 13.5 inches length right at the moment for tuning. If I need to adjust it a little more, I will. But from the flange to the girth of the pipe right there is 13.5 inches. I still got to figure out exactly what I'm going to do with my vent for my tank. And that's about the only thing I got left to figure out on this boat. When it comes to tightening your collet on your engine, I like to use a piston stop in order to stop the engine from turning over and proceed to torque the bolt on the crankshaft. And guys, anyone who's going playing with these boats for any extended period of times and using Zenoa engines, I really suggest you take the time and you invest in some of the special tools you're going to need to work on these engines. This one right here is a simple piston stop. If you unscrew that spark plug, screw that into the cylinder head, you can rotate that engine clockwise or counterclockwise, and that will stop the piston on this rounded edge. You then can tighten any nuts or bolts you may need to tighten on your crankshaft. And this is the way that I do it. It's very simple. Dab a blue Loctite on that bolt before I installed it, and then I just simply released my piston stop and I put my spark plug back in. Engine wise, you know what we got going on. This is a Zenoa G260 PUM engine. It has a Bonsai Sports BZ1 mild modification package on it. Basically some increased intake and exhaust duration, an extra groove cut in the piston for oil, and it's running nothing but a stock 644 Walbro carb. Good review of everything with the engine, guys. Let's move ye down to the radio box area and show you what we got done down there. Okay guys, let's review the radio hardware in our Enforcer Demon hydroplane. On this boat, guys, I'm going to run my DX5C Spectrum radio. I'm currently running 3 Spectrum radios in my fleet of boats. I'm using my DX5 Rugged Orange Edition. I'm using that DX5C I just showed you. And I also have a Spectrum DXR4 Pro. I love all their radios. The 4 Pro is the oldest, and it's probably my old reliable and old faithful. It's never ever let me down. Guys, simple radio setup. We got an Onyx 5-cell 6-volt 2000 milliamp battery pack in the bottom of the radio box, mounted with 2-sided tape. We got a Spectrum switch on this side, also mounted with 2-sided tape, and a Spectrum receiver SR410 mounted the same way. We're using high-tech servos once again, HS645MG for the throttle, HS755HB for the steering. This is not the MG one, but the HB, and the difference being the MG servo has metal gears, the HB one has carbonite gears. But this is plenty strong for this rudder control on this boat. Guys, with this 4-inch bearing block and this Speedmaster rudder that's mounted on the transom, when I hook this radio up and hook my servo up to the farthest out hole in my rudder control arm, I had to reduce the steering rate on my radio down to 65% travel both ways, because at 100% this rudder was traveling way too far. So it was merely going into the menu, doing a little travel adjustment, and making it work. I want to show you, we got a full range throttle working on about a 14-inch cable which runs to our carburetor on our engine. Works perfectly. We have a fail-safe that if we lose signal with this transmitter, that servo is preset to go to no throttle. And our steering is working perfectly left and right, but only at 65% travel, because that's all we're going to need, and more than enough travel for this rudder on this boat. So guys, I'm going to reposition the camera, show you the hardware on the transom. Okay guys, as I've told you before in previous episodes, Speedmaster rudder assembly on the transom, tapered rudder with a dual water pickup built into it, 4-inch bearing block, 440 rod connected to a Dubro connector, easy connector, ball link on the end on the radio in the radio box. Simple Enforcer strut, guys. Flat bottom, designed for this hydroplane. The way this boat is built, it has a square drive cable on the end of it. And the square drive cable fits a square in the prop shaft. When you set this boat up, it is recommended that you set your washers your thrust washers on your prop shaft so you have about 1 millimeter or 1.5 millimeters of play in your prop shaft with your cable installed. I merely have a Prather 275 prop laid on here for now. I was going to tighten it up, but I never even bothered. You'll notice the nut is loose. The first test I'm going to do with this boat, guys, I'm going to use an Octora X 472 prop. And I'm going to prop it down a little bit from the 275 Prather that was kind of recommended for this boat when I got it. So, for starters, we're going to run an X 472 prop on the tail of our boat. Okay guys, that's a really good review of what I got done with the Enforcer Demon hydroplane over the last few days. I did not record any of this work because it's just straightforward assembly work. There's really not no hard building to do on this boat. And like I've told you before, this boat was rigged, built, stuffing tube installed, holes drilled and everything when I got it. It was just merely getting the parts that fit the hull that it was drilled for and installing them and making everything fit. The next time, guys, that you do see this boat, you're going to see it running in water. We are going to get it to a pond, like I've told you, as soon as the ponds are freed up from the ice and we can get a chance to get out running again. And where we're to after the work we've done on our missile Thunderboat, and where we're to with the work we got done on this Demon, we're really looking forward to this year. And 2 brand new hydroplanes on the channel for you guys to enjoy footage of. You're going to see all the tuning, you're going to see all the prop testing, and you're going to see all the running video when I get it done. I hope this video helps you guys with a couple little tips on tightening your collet and the right special tools to use on Sonoas. I hope my little tip on cutting drive cables so you don't cut them too short and ruin them and cost yourself money is helpful to you guys. And as I always say to you, thank you for watching this channel. Twisted Liquid RC Boats truly appreciates all the viewers who are watching this channel, your channel support, your views, your likes, and all of your comments. I'll say it again, I cannot thank you guys enough for what you're doing to my little tiny YouTube channel. You are slowly turning it into something good. And I'm going to keep doing this stuff for you guys because it seems like you're very interested and you want to know more information about how these gas RC boats run properly, how to build them properly, and how to make them run properly. And after all my life as a mechanic, I'm going to take some time and I'm going to show you what we're going to do this summer. Thanks for watching. Appreciate your channel support, and I hope you like what we got done with our Enforcer Demon hydroplane. I can promise you guys, I'm really looking forward to running this boat, and as soon as the ponds are thawed, you're going to see this thing in water. Everybody take care out there and have yourself a really good day. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please like and subscribe. Take care and stay safe.